So Fallout 76's Atomic Shop. This is something I've been doing underhanded critiques at in many of my recent videos, so some of you probably predicted a video like this was coming, although based off the title, you may have not realized what the actual subject of this video would be. So first, let me actually explain what this is. The Atomic Shop is microtransactions in Fallout 76, meant to only be cosmetic. You could actually earn points to spend in this shop for free, or you can pay for them with real-world money. Depending on which package you do buy, it typically translates to 100 points are worth $1. Obviously, in other currencies, it's going to vary. And in-game, the way you actually earn these points is at the start, you have a bunch of challenges that you can do just one time. So naturally, playing the game, like when you take a picture, you'll get some points. But of course, once you do those, you can't do them again. So you get more at the start of the game, then over time, you can still earn them through daily and weekly challenges. These are going to reset either every day or every week, and people have calculated that through this you can earn roughly 1,300 to 1,600 points. They actually are a bit dynamic, so there's a range there. It's not always consistent each day or week. So that's fairly good, right? I mean, 1,300 to 1,600 points a month is actually quite a bit. Well, if you look at the shop, it seems like Bethesda knows that because the prices of this thing are ridiculous. Like, they are extremely high. And frankly, this is one of those topics that I really haven't seen too many people talk about. I know Maddie made a video on it not too long ago, but outside of that, despite all of the other controversies surrounding Fallout 76, it seems like the Atomic Shop has largely been flying under the radar. This is likely due to that methodology where you can actually get these points for free, and of course, the whole shop itself is optional. It's really hard to critique something that you can outright ignore. Otherwise though, looking at the shop again, you're going to see a lot of these things are very, very expensive. If you actually do go just the paid route, you're going to be spending 5 to 10, if not more dollars on things that are probably not worth it. Even comparing it to Fallout 4 or Skyrim's Creation Club, the prices in the Atomic Shop are quite a bit higher. It's using the scummy thing that many companies are turning to nowadays, that with metacurrency. Metacurrency are the atoms in this shop. It kind of removes you from that because it's on a dollar symbol. Most of these guys actually do it for two reasons. One, you have to buy packs of points. So if you want something that's $7, you have to buy the pack that costs $10. You can't just spend $7. But also there's the psychological component where when you're spending atoms, you don't have that emotional feeling with it like you would have with dollars. This is something that has long been done by casinos. When you're using chips, it's a lot easier to throw a bunch of chips down than it is to throw a bunch of cash down. People overall have a stronger bond with physical money compared to this metacurrency. But again, it is earnable for free, so you can't really fault it all that much. A lot of these high prices will hopefully be offset by your efforts in game, even if it takes you a really freaking long time to complete some of those challenges. And also one other disclaimer that isn't necessarily obvious, certain things that you can buy in the Atomic Shop, you could actually find for free through the game world. Like, you could just stumble upon one of these outfits, but if you didn't know that, you may end up spending the money anyway. It's not always clear by the descriptions of these items that that's a thing, but it is something important to keep in mind. Although I would say a majority of the items on here are not discoverable for free in-game. And funny enough, some of like the various dresses and more formal wear in the Atomic Shop have dirty variants that you could discover for free, but to get the clean one, you have to pay for it. Yeah, that's not a joke. But now into the thing I really wanted to talk about in this video, where I would say I kind of drew the line on the Atomic Shop. There are things in this shop that were in Fallout 4 and are now being sold for money. There's actually quite a few items like this, but I really want to focus on 4 specifically: the greaser jacket and jeans, which apparently you can find for game in free, the red rocket jumpsuit, and then the rocket suit and wildman rags, the last two being particularly expensive for what they give you. The last two you definitely cannot find in game for free, while the red rocket jumpsuit I've heard you can, but then other people say you can't, so who knows. I do want to give a shout out to Reddit user FiyCsf, I don't know how you say your name, man. He actually made a Reddit post talking about all this. I'd been thinking about making a video for a while, and that's what really pushed me over the edge. He has a lot of data and actually kind of calculates what the cost would be to buy everything in the Atomic Shop that was already offered in Fallout 4. I will have a link to that down below. So to do a fair and direct comparison, I took one for the team. I actually laid out the money and I bought all of these things in the Atomic Shop to really see if maybe there is some kind of significant difference between the Fallout 4 version and this new yet costly Fallout 76 version. Maybe the textures get an upgrade, maybe there's additional accessories. Just going off the little picture they show you wasn't enough. So hey, if you want to like this video or share it with a friend, it would help me recoup the $40 I spent on it. So in total, I spent 3,300 atoms, and that was on the Greaser jacket and jeans for 800, the Red Rocket jumpsuit for 600 at the cheapest, the Rocket suit for a whopping 1,200 atoms, and finally the Wildman rags for 700 atoms. Going over into Fallout 4, you could get these all for free. Well, kind of. The Rocket suit and the Wildman rags actually were only through the Nuka World DLC, so you technically would have had to have purchased that, but again, it's going to be a lot cheaper than actually just buying atoms to get these. Starting off with the Red Rocket jumpsuit, it honestly looks like they're identical. I couldn't find significant differences between one or the other, and I feel like you could almost tell in Fallout 76 that it's like this. Compare the Red Rocket logo on the back of this to the Pip-Boy. It looks like the Pip-Boy is just way higher resolution than this actual outfit, probably because this was carried over from Fallout 4, while the Pip-Boy was a newly created asset. And this again is an item that was in the base game of Fallout 4, so if you bought Fallout 4 on sale or at any point, you would have got this for free. Yet if you want to get it in Fallout 76, unless there is some free one in the world, you had to pay $6 or so. Although of course you can earn atoms for free, which could offset or even totally pay for the cost. Then moving on, we have the Greaser jacket and jeans, a really iconic one in Fallout 4. I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed this outfit. In Fallout 76, it actually did get a facelift. The jeans have been spruced up, the jacket itself doesn't seem nearly as dirty, but it also looks like Bethesda knew they put in this additional effort, hence the 800 atom price tag. At the end of the day, the two assets seem like they are very similar, just some of the textures have been updated on top of them. So alright, maybe this one they actually did a decent job at updating it. Then we move on to the Wildman rags. Again, this one was through the Nuka World DLC. And for this, I literally think it's identical. Obviously, in my Fallout 4 version, it doesn't have a Pip-Boy because I'm using a mod to remove that. But otherwise, I literally noticed no difference and no change in between these two. And what I would say is the final and probably the most egregious of these, the Rocket suit. This thing costs a whopping 1,200 atomic points, which I don't know where they get that number from. That's a little ridiculous. And it too looks like there's basically no difference. If you compare them in one game or the other, there actually is a recolor on the little hat that you do wear inside of the bulb. But unless you value that recolor at a whopping 1,200 atoms or roughly $12, then that's a bit rich if you ask me. And one of the real reasons I wanted to make this video is this isn't something it seems like they intend on stopping. If you actually look through some of the files of up-and-coming Fallout 76 releases for the Atomic Shop, you will find that there are many more outfits and items that were present in Fallout 4 that will very likely now have a cost associated with them. I know many people are probably going to argue, well, you got tons of atoms for free, so you don't really care. And for that, I have two arguments. First and foremost, do you really want the precedent where they could take content that was created for one game that you paid for once if you bought Fallout 4 or the Nuka World DLC and have it resold to you or behind some sort of paywall, even if you could get around that paywall for free in the follow-up game? I just can't believe Bethesda actually thought this was a good idea. It's one thing to have a bunch of overpriced content that you did create exclusively for your new game, but then to have a bunch of overpriced content that a bunch of users already paid for, that seems to me to be crossing the line. But again, as I mentioned before, to those of you saying you have so many atoms, it really seems like this is one of those games where you can get a ton of atoms really early on by completing some of those initial challenges. After that, those are gone forever. Atoms are shared across accounts, so you get a ton very quickly, but a few months down the line, you're slowly going to realize that, hey, they're not nearly as easy to get. You still could put in the work and get, let's say, 1,000 to 2,000 a month, but that is going to require considerable work. So my real ask with this video is, Bethesda, please don't continue to do this. The Grognard costume is one of the things you could find in those files, and I think it just feels wrong that they're going to have that behind an atom paywall. So again, that is earnable for free or offsettable by free atoms, but still invariably some people will pay real money for something they probably paid real money for in the past, and that just seems ridiculous to me. Fallout 76 has enough controversies right now. I feel like this is one that is easily avoidable. It literally seems like one of those decisions that is solely made out of greed. I can't see a good reason to include reused content in your paid for shop except wanting people to buy it with real world money. So hopefully this video actually does have an impact. Hopefully they do decide to scrap this and not go forward with it, but in reality what's more likely is this will just continue on. Before we end things off though, I do want to share today's psychology fun fact of the day, and this one I have to play some word games games with. It's going to be about chems, but that's not how people refer to them in real life. You know how in Fallout chems are referred to as chems, but if you use the real world term, you wouldn't actually call them that. I can't say that word because YouTube. Well, either way, when using real world chems, something I feel like a lot of people don't actually take into consideration or just don't know about is the role of expectations and your environment. This particularly in your behavior. There have been numerous studies highlighting this placebo effect. If you're given something and told it's going to make you feel a certain way or even act in a certain way, people tend to actually change their behavior at least somewhat, even if that thing does literally nothing. Even beyond that, a far more interesting study I found is the role of context or your environment. There have been some studies run where basically they give somebody a drink in a controlled environment, like a lab or let's say a library, something along those lines. In many of these instances, you might expect, oh, that person might have been going crazy or doing something wild, but in reality, no, they were pretty calm, and despite the fact that they were consuming a chem, they were acting in a pretty mellow way. On the other hand, if you actually look at this in a more party-like environment, consuming a lesser amount of that very same chem could actually make you feel and act a lot more wild or crazy due to what's going on around you. Even in self-report, people reporting how they feel, oftentimes they feel more intoxicated in a party-like environment than they do in a more stable one, where biologically they are actually at equal levels. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.